you ready to get crystal clear on your niche? Now, in simple terms, our entire goal here is to define the problem in your market that people are willing to pay you for to help them solve, right? So sometimes we might be a little bit too broad, which is why we want to niche down. The more specific that we can get, the more unique the problem is, the easier it is to attract clients and the right clients. So this is super important as it will impact all of your marketing and your communication that you do in the future. If we can get super clear on this, then everything else is just that much easier. Now, I'll give you a few examples. So if we think about somebody maybe who's coaching in the weight loss market, one coach might be somebody who just helps people generally, or you might have another coach that helps those that are over 65 and gets really, specific with them on the exercises that they can do that because they might not be able to do some of the things that younger people might be able to do, right? So making their audience and their niche that much more specific. Another example I can think of is maybe a parenting coach. Again, they could be generic and just work with all types of parents, or they might work with parents that have, say, 2 to 6 year olds that are dealing with horrible, maybe tantrums or behavioral issues. Do you see how much more specific and clear that is? When you can be more specific, you can stand out even in the most crowded market because you're calling out directly to your ideal audience. All right, I want to jump on in and get started so you can craft your very own niche statement so that you can feel confident knowing exactly who it is that you're speaking to. All right, we're going to go 3 levels deep when it comes to defining your niche and finally pulling it together into your beautiful niche statement. First of all, I want you to identify which of the 4 core categories you fall into, whether that's health, wealth, relationships, or passions, right? Which one do you best fit into? Now, you might be somebody that you feel caught across a couple of these, and so when we jump into the next stage, which is deep diving in our subcategories, you might be able to pinpoint which one you best suit to. So for now, even if you fall across a couple, just write down what one aligns with you most. So then we're going to work out your subcategory that your problem falls into that you're helping solve. We're going to go through some examples, all right? So if you're working in the health space, you might be working with people with chronic anxiety, maybe an alcohol addiction, arthritis, low energy, weight loss, acne, hair loss, the list goes on. So if you might be in one of those spaces. Otherwise, maybe you're in the wealth building space. So you might work specifically with helping people in terms of their accounting and cash flow management. Maybe you work in the client attraction space or social media marketing. Maybe you work more in the HR space and you look at hiring and building teams. Or perhaps you help people build out their real estate portfolios or do any refinancing, investing, debt management. The list goes on, life purpose or career, looking at job change as well. Those are some examples if you're working inside of that wealth building space. Maybe you're more so aligned with the relationships out of the core 4, right? So whether that's parenting or marriage, looking at connection, divorce, dating, those all fall into relationships. Or the last category, passions, right? Could be sports, and get really specific on which sport, right, that you're working with. Maybe it's knitting or gardening or classic cars, reading, history, whatever that looks like for you. Getting really specific on that subcategory is this next step. So I want you to jot down what that looks like for you. These are just a handful of examples, so don't be surprised if what you do doesn't fall on the list that I've just gone through. It's just a bit of an example to kind of get the creative juices flowing, right? From here, we're gonna start niching down. Now, this usually takes a little bit more time to drill down on. There are a number of different lenses that I want you to look through. You might think of these as demographics, right? And you want to apply as many as possible. You might not be able to do all of the ones I'm going to walk through, but if we can apply as many as possible, it'll just really help when it comes to the final step of this process, which is crafting your niche statement. So I want you to think about gender. Who do you work with? Do you work with men or women or both? Write that one down. Is there an age or a generation that you're working with? So getting really specific on visualizing your ideal clients, or maybe they're 30 to 50 year olds, maybe they're baby boomers or millennials, whatever that looks like for you. If we can get, crystal clear and picture that person, that ideal client that we're working with. Next up, I want you to think of their career or business. What do they do? Maybe they're an accountant, maybe they're a tutor or a coach, or maybe they work and own an e-commerce business, or they're a team leader or a cafe owner, whatever that looks like. Next up, I want you to think of their experience, right? So anybody in life has a wide range of experience, and for your niche, I want you to think of who you're working with. So for example, you might be somebody in the health space working with people in the fitness world. right? Are you going to be maybe working with somebody that's never touched a weight in their life, or you might be working with a pro bodybuilder? Totally different, right? Or if you're working with a consultant, maybe they've never signed a client before, so they're brand new, launching their coaching business, for example. Or you might be only working with 7-figure coaches and beyond. So thinking about that experience, where they are in their journey, and writing that one down. Also, whether it's relevant or not, but their relationship status. Are they single, married, widowed, divorced, engaged? If that's relevant for you and how you're serving your clients, be sure to write that one down. Next up, we have our mini market category. So this is where we're looking at, again, getting quite specific. If we're helping people with chronic pain, or are we helping people with arthritis specifically? Or is it back pain or migraine, right? Maybe if we are helping people with traffic strategies. So if you think of maybe you're a client attraction specialist, are you doing all paid traffic, or are you specifically someone that's an expert working with Facebook ads? So that's how you can define your mini market category. Then we have group identity. How do they, group themselves, right? Thinking of religion or nationality, ethnicity, political, social groups they identify with. What does that look like for them? Lastly, I want you to think of the size of your client. Are you working with somebody that's on a personal income, what that looks like even for them? What kind of income do they bring in each year? Or maybe you're working with somebody with corporate revenue. Or if you're in the HR space, you might be working with people with a certain amount of employees, things like that. So I want you to think about the size of the client as well, whether it is one-on-one or whether it's a business. You have to get really specific on the size of that business. Last up, we're going to pull it all into a beautiful niche statement, right? So it kind of sounds like this. I help insert core niche lenses who are struggling with the and then you put in your hot button problem so they can, and whatever it is, the end result or goal that they're after. Here are some examples that I've got for you. I help single moms who struggle to get out of debt and get them on the path to take back control and confidence of their finances. Another one might be, I help accounting businesses with 20 to 50 employees who are struggling with a poor company culture, turn things around, and as a side benefit, increase profits. Or it might sound something like, I help professional athletes who are struggling with recovery post-knee surgery so they can return to their sport. You see how powerful that is when we can get super specific and clearly articulate who it is that we're working with? It's pretty cool, Now it's time to get doing. Time for you to craft your very own niche statement.